Happy Equal Pay Day, everyone. Let's have a look. Hello, everyone, and a happy Equal Pay Day to you. Grab your stein of coffee, because you're going to need it for this one. Now, let's have a look in a moment at this opinion piece from news.com.au. Equal Pay Day, if you're not aware, it's the day when we realize, when we learn that our education system has drastically failed, and large portions of our population, either in the media or in politics, aren't capable of understanding basic mathematics. And you know, it's getting worse. It really is getting worse. And this day is to highlight the fact that basic mathematics skills have been lost. People don't understand averages. People don't understand the differences between, doing a lot of work or hours worked. And they just blurt out rubbish for political reasons. And hopefully this day will raise awareness of this and more people can endeavor to get some basic math skills. Maybe we need to get a petition going requiring, Maths B as a minimum entry requirement for any university degrees. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So let's have a look at this article and let's see if it raises awareness about this drastic problem that's really plaguing our nation. It's going to hold back the economic complexity of Australia, this lack of understanding of mathematics and how averages work. So, Equal Pay Day. A wage crisis is catastrophic for Australian women. There's one group of everyday Aussies that have been more economically smashed by the pandemic than others, and it's about to hit breaking point. So, today is Equal Pay Day in Australia, but before you bust out the bright balloons, no, it's not something worth celebrating. That's because today, August 28th, marks the 59 extra days from the end of the previous financial year that women have to work in order to earn the same as men each year. Well, that doesn't make sense. This day is about women not understanding mathematics. That's why we have the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, to teach all these feminists how to do maths. Now, enough of my facetious play here, because, this is a joke. This really is a joke. With regards to the gender pay gap, it in reality is a gender earning gap. It's because people have agency and they make different choices in their lives and they work different amounts. Now, what's never mentioned, and I've looked at this in a video about 2 years ago now, is the gender tax gap. Because when you have a gender earnings gap or a gender wage gap, you also have a gender tax gap. It's funny that. And there I'm commenting on a video about Senator Young. So here it is. I'm worried. I'm really worried that people don't realize it's a bit of a joke. We have laws in place that mean it's discriminatory. It is illegal for you to, discriminate against someone based on their gender. But if you've got two people working and one person works harder or works longer hours or puts more effort in, you generally reward them. This is rubbish. It doesn't. How many jobs do you have which are minimum wage, which have different rates set for men and female? In our own experience, in our own office, Rachel was quite frustrated because she'd have to pull some of the girls aside going, this young guy, because we often as architects, we trained up people. We gave them their first professional job. And you see them. And she pulled one girl aside and said, you realize such and such is pulling ahead of you in career. In just 1 year, he's already taken on more responsibility. He's taking on more challenges and he's stepping up. You're still doing the same thing. He's going to leave you behind. He's going to leave you behind. These things compound. She didn't care. We noticed it often, over and over again. The workers who would stay back longer, work through the night, do the deadlines, as opposed to the ones that would leave at 5 p.m. on the dot. And architecture is notorious for its long hours. It's not really compatible with the relaxed lifestyle. So, according to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, this is just ludicrous. The fact that we're wasting money on this, that analyzes the Australian Bureau of Statistics data, in 2020, our nation's gender, and I'm going to call this earnings gap because it isn't a pay gap, it's an earnings gap, it sits at 14% for full-time employees. So what? We're not in a socialist utopia yet, comrades. You're going to have earnings differential. It's just how life is. Life isn't fair. Life is not fair. Don't dwell on it to think it is. You know, I was working in a practice, and as a student, and I was taking on a whole lot of responsibility, and I found another worker was earning a lot more than me. It's because she was sponsored from overseas, which I thought was quite unfair. What happens when they wouldn't give me a pay rise? I wouldn't even discuss it? What did I do? Did I sit there and complain? Did I whinge? No, I left and got a pay rise somewhere else. That's another part of it. You have to, if you want to get more money, you have to go and get it. You have to go and get it. And maybe that's just, well, there's a difference between the genders. You know, blokes are a little bit more, shall we say, proactive in that regards. Not all of them. Not at all. And some women are too. They're better than the blokes in that regard as well. But we're talking averages here. So if you're wondering what this translates to into dollars and cents, women working full-time receive on average $253 less per week than their male counterparts. Yes, that's $1,014 out of pocket every single month for merely processing. No, what shit is this? What utter bullshit is this? No, it is because of the careers they choose. It is because of what they work in. How can do people believe this crap? Do you work with people that believe this rubbish? I mean, it must be Labour in Victoria. They're putting it forward for their policies. What was it? The Labour deputy. She's complaining about a gender gap and how welders, people who do a welding trade, working with dangerous equipment, get paid more than women in childcare. Okay, now I've done both. Changing a dirty nappy isn't as dangerous as welding. And then she was given the chance to run for the leadership in the Labour Party. Oh, she didn't want to. There you go. There's an earnings gap right there. Utter insanity. I mean, what's this? Is this just for the clicks? Is this just for the clicks, guys? Are people writing this crap for the clicks, or do they actually believe this bullshit? You might recall the 2019 national gender earnings gap was also 14%, which may prompt some to believe that 2020's stagnant result is neither cause for congratulation or commiseration, but you'd be entirely wrong. The current gender pay disparity, though it hasn't increased year on year, will have a pernicious and catastrophic effect on Australian women and our financial security. Well, here's the thing. Okay, now this is going to be some harsh truth bombs for some people, but generally people tend to do this thing called pairing off, and then they'll have a family unit, and then each person will contribute either through working at home, taking care of the family, working maybe part-time, or being the primary breadwinner. Now traditionally that was the husband's role, was to be the primary breadwinner, and it was the wife's role traditionally to contribute to the family in other ways, usually maintaining the household, spending time and raising the children. Sadly, we've come to a point now where both parents have to work, so you have to outsource your education and you're taking care of the children to the state. That, in some ways, that's quite sad. Now, we don't really have a choice anymore, but those were the traditional gender roles. And then when you put everything in a bucket together, it didn't really matter who earned what, because you would make decisions as a team moving forward. That's called a healthy relationship, everyone. That should be the ideal that we aim for. Or at least it was. Am I just so old-fashioned? I think I am. I think I really am so old-fashioned the way Rachel and I are doing things. It's ludicrous. I mean, even if you're in a non-traditional relationship, but if there are two of you working together, you need to work together as a team. There's no point having separate bank accounts, particularly if there's children involved. It all gets thrown out anyway if it all falls apart. And the blokes will cop it anyway, guys. The 2008 GFC saw the gender earnings gap sit unmoved for an entire decade. So if it's a harbinger of what's to come, then we can expect women's lives and livelihoods to be gravely impacted for years ahead. Really? Come on. No. What happened in the GFC? Okay. Here's another truth bomb. I'm going to have a coffee for this bloke. Okay, talk to Rachel and all the other women in architecture. Oh, well, lost the job. Time to have kids. Let's have kids. That's the backup plan. You know, often it's sad when people leave it too late to have children. They want to. They work on a career, and I've seen it. I've seen it working on a career, working for a big practice that just casts you aside when they don't need you. That's the thing. Don't give your heart and soul to a corporate, everyone. Never do it. It's not worth it. Not in the long run. They're not going to be there on your deathbed. You know, they're not going to be taking care of you when you're old. So, yes, the mud women have been wading through to reach gender equality has now morphed into a perilous quicksand. And Libby Lyons, director of the government's Uyghur, said it... Oh, God. Come on. Okay, let's defund this garbage. We don't need this agency. We don't. We've got laws in place. That's fine. That's fine. And honestly, most business people are not going to... This is the thing. This is a kick over from the boomers, because the boomers were all a bunch of discriminatory bastards. Or maybe not. But I've seen it in the architectural profession. All the older architects, you know, oh, we have to fight for this. And everyone younger than that goes, why would you discriminate? Who cares? It's all to do about the merit on the job. You know? And then you get to a point. You get to a point where you realize you're working hard hours, long hours, earning money. You think, what's more important? Having a family? Okay, let's cut down the hours at work. Let's see how we can make it work. Oh, we want to homeschool? Okay, let's make that happen. We want to spend time with our kids? God forbid. Oh, look, boom, you've got an earnings gap. Oh no, it's called life. We cannot allow the pandemic crisis to lead to a decline in the many gains achieved in recent years, including the gradual drop in the gender pay gap. Earnings gap. Zoom out to the wider picture, and the gender earnings gap is merely one setback. In a, Maudlin series that has seen women hit the hardest during the pandemic crisis. Well, this has got nothing to do with the pay gap. It's got everything to do... Well, actually, no. I'm wrong there. It has everything to do, so they're right, with the choices that women make, the industries they prefer to work in, which means that many of them are client-facing, many of them are customer-facing, many of them are in retail. They're copying it really hard. But then those in nursing aren't. Those in education aren't. They're still getting paid. They're unionist protected industries. In fact, the last Financial Women's Index, which analyzes a large range of data sets, discovered that for every month the pandemic affects our country, women lose years in progress towards economic equality. ABS data found that between mid-March and mid-April, 55% of lost jobs were held by women, and official jobless figures discovered the amount of jobs plunged 8.1% for women versus 6.2% for men. Well, that's got everything to do with the lockdowns that the government imposed. I wonder what the gender split is on support for authoritarian government intervention. I really wonder. Because it would be interesting. While wading through the thick and treacherous bog of the pink... Oh, I need another coffee. I'm... Let me know in the comments, guys, if you have ever intentionally, illegally broken the laws to pay someone incorrectly. Let us know if you've ever seen it happen. Or if you've heard of it happen and you realize that it's just because one person isn't as good as they think they are. And then they sit there. They don't do something about it. Working Aussie mums face an additional hurdle, with some forced to leave jobs or reduce hours to care for children. Well, yeah, that's called being a mother. Okay? It's called having a family. You've got to make sacrifices for your family. Remember when the family unit was the most important thing in our lives? Not getting a career? Maybe I'm just getting too bitter and old, you know. I've worked... We've worked for, you know, the international brands, the great clients, you know, fantastic projects. And you realize sometimes it's just not worth it. Rachel's going to, she told me this, she went to a networking event for women in construction. And it was something about career progression. And she was there heavily pregnant with number 5. And, you know, Rachel still works in the practice. Primarily she's teaching the kids and, you know, cooking all our fantastic beef meals and taking care of the house. But she still works. You know, at night she'll do work or as need be on particular projects. So she likes going to these things just to meet other women. And it's interesting, she was dropping them truth bombs about, their fertility running out, and how she was telling them, because there's a bunch of young ones in their 20 and a bunch of other ones older than her, she was telling them about the biological wall that they hit when they were 30, and some of them hadn't even heard about it. They hadn't even heard about it in their 20s. I thought it was common knowledge, but I guess it's not. It's just the news or the content that I'm consuming. I mean, we've all got a time limit, guys, even the blokes. We just hit our sexual market value peak at a different age to women. They don't really teach us that at school, do they? So, due to exorbitant fees that are among the highest in the world, some families are foregoing childcare arrangements, making re-entry into the workforce particularly precarious for mothers. Well, that's because these fees are ignored because it's a completely government-controlled and regulated industry. And you've got mainly women working in there too, by the way. Yet, despite the ABS finding that every $1 million spent on childcare creates approximately 9.2 jobs, our government is not rushing through a permanent, more subsidized childcare scheme. And as they shouldn't. It's childcare. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. They just want to do it to get people working. They want to make you as tax cattle. That's what they want to do. They need to deregulate the childcare sector. They really need to. So it's an egregious oversight, according to Executive Director of advocacy group The Parenthood, Georgie Dent. Childcare is the most efficacious investment that a government can make. Really? Yeah, I don't believe that. The value of early childhood education is really overblown. It is really overblown. Honestly, just playing is very important too. Creative play. I just remember we went to kindergarten, and just the cost involved in it and what they got was not that impressive. I'd rather have them building cubby houses and creating stories and playing. I mean, that's the advantage when you have multiple kids. The case was compelling even before the pandemic hit. As we seek to navigate high unemployment and contracting economy, it's now even more urgent. So why is it that there's little to no enduring policies from our government that focus on women who are so clearly positioned at rock bottom in the pandemic pecking order? Why is our country... Well, no, that's wrong. There are policies. Government has positive discrimination and will promote women before they promote men, or they'll have roles where they only select women. That exists. That's unquestionable in place there. I don't think that should really be a consideration for most jobs. Your gender really shouldn't matter. The Royal Australian Institute of Architects, they implemented quotas to try and get more women in positions on committees. Then Rachel, she was working on a national committee to rewrite our body of knowledge, and all of a sudden she was mistaken as a quota filler. And you know why this happened? You know why this happened? And this is one of the reasons why we left. It really diminished my respect for that organization. I was a member there for years. It was because of all of the academics who are more interested in feminism, who are too old to have children, one who really hates me, were putting together proposals and submissions and all of these things. They were being loud. They were being noisy. They were still a minority in reality, but they were the ones filling out the surveys. Everyone else was working. Sue Moffat, president of Chief Executive Women, said it's critical October's budget includes female-centric policies if women are to be pulled out of this recession intact. Women form the majority of the workplaces and industries that have been most impacted, such as retail and hospitality, and are overrepresented in informal and casualized work. By embedding a gender lean in the budgetary process, governments can direct more coherent and strategic policy approaches that reduce gendered impacts of the crisis and build stronger foundations for recovery and growth. Surely we can... No, we can't. Surely we can all agree that now is not the time to neglect and undervalue the pivotal and critical role of women, both in home and in the workplace. What's that got to do with these discriminatory policies that you're advocating for? It's got nothing to do with that. No, the 14% gender earnings gap isn't something to shrug benignly at. Rather, it is a sign that the fight for gender equality in Australia is more necessary and more urgent than ever. So, yeah. This is why, among many things, MGTOW is growing. It really is. Why men are just checking out. Because you've got people here advocating for not only government intervention, but significant government intervention aimed at one gender. Maybe I'm just too old-fashioned for this world that we're turning into. Or maybe I see the dangers of this. The dangers of discrimination. The dangers of positive discrimination. What do you think, everyone? What do you think? Have you ever encountered this in reality? You know, maybe we just need to teach people how to work out maths, or maybe people need to realize, maybe they need to realize that in a merit-based society, equality is never going to happen because we're not all equal. Well, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, have a great day. I'll see you next time.